See, when you are distraught, you're just coming out of a death. You just lose a job. You just filed bankruptcy. Your child just got in trouble. The school just called you. You're distraught. Now you have a distortion of reality. You have a distortion of reality. You go to the hospital, you think everybody in the world is sick. You're distraught, you're in the hospital, you're looking around, there are other sick people on gurneys because you're in a hospital and everybody, well people don't just go to the hospital. I know that there's some preventive care, but most folks are not there for preventive care, particularly men. So, when a brother goes to the hospital, he's sick. And he's been sick a long time. He's been at home waiting on it to clear up on his own. And because it didn't clear up, then he broke down. Most of the time, a woman in his life had to make him go because he was sitting at home, it'll pass, it will clear up. I'll just put some alcohol on it. You'd be surprised. But here was Hanan. He started off, he was distraught because his father had died. He had experienced a death of a relative. So he is distraught. When you are emotionally distraught, it causes a distortion of your perception. A distortion of your perception. If you have a distortion of your perception, then it's going to cause really a bad reaction. Now here's what I want you to realize. That if a reaction is greater than an action that has happened in your life, it means that the reaction is about something that happened before you came on the scene. Does that make sense to you? If the reaction is greater than the action, it means that the reaction is about something that has happened before this situation has occurred. So, Hanan is having a reaction that is greater than the action that David did. David is doing a kind gesture of sending things to comfort him as a condolence in the death of his father. He has had things that happened previously. Maybe nobody's ever affirmed him, and now he's like, I'm the new kid on the block, and now he's thinking that he's going to come and take this from me. No, this is my bat and my ball, and I'm not going to play with you. And he has a bad reaction because of his distortion. The distortion of reality for him leads to the next process in his mind, which is deception. Distortion leads to deception. When you have a distorted view of reality, it doesn't matter. You can think, because you drink every day, you can have a distorted view of reality and then lead yourself to being deceived that you don't have a problem with alcohol or pornography. Because of the distortion of your perception, it leads you to deception. Distortion of reality leads to deception, where you are really fooled into believing that your perception is reality. It might be your reality, but it may not be the reality of other people around you. You know people in the crazy house. That's their reality, but it's not the reality of the rest of the world. And if you're the only one who thinks that you're on fire, something's wrong with you. If you're the only one who thinks that spiders are crawling on you, that's your perception. I'm not saying that it's not real in their mind, but if other people are looking at you, trying to get stuff off of you and nothing is on you, guess who's going to be looked at as crazy? And is going to be taken somewhere and probably medicated and restrained in some way. Because when you become distraught, it leads to distortion. Distortion leads to deception. Notice what happened. Out of the deception, because he was deceived into thinking that David was against him, it leads us to the next one. It caused disrespect or dishonor. Disrespect or dishonor. Now remember the word respect. Say respect. Re means back. Spect means to look. Every time that you respect, it means you look back. When you respect your mother, you respect your father, you look back and you remember when they made sacrifices and took care of you when you couldn't take care of yourself. Respect is always based on looking back. You respect, you look back at something that has been done. And he disrespected David. He disrespected the men that he had sent to comfort him. He dishonored them. May I just raise this thought in your mind. Every person practically who is in prison today is in prison because of somebody that they failed to honor. And that honor generally starts in the home. If you root back to people that are in prison today, I promise you that you'll be able to locate a dishonor that came to a mother and or a father. Because dishonor can take you to a bad place. And when he dishonored David's representative, he started a war. Can you imagine how many wars are started just because people refuse to honor an authority on the job? Just because they dishonor the covenant of their own relationship, their marriage. Because they dishonor their mother, their father, their son, their daughter, their brother, their sister. When they dishonor, they start wars. What caused the war to be started between Hanan and David? And he started a war that he couldn't even support on his own. He had to hire out other armies because he wasn't big enough to take care of himself. Because he was a little daddy's boy that had never fought, didn't know how to do anything. And so now he's got to hire armies out to help him, and David whipped him and the hired armies. And you see, all of this mess happened because he had a bad perception. He was distraught. He had a distortion of reality. He was deceived in believing that David had something against him that was not honorable, and it caused him to disrespect and to dishonor the men that David sent to him. And when you dishonor the representative or the ambassador, it is as though you have dishonored that person themselves. If you dishonor an emissary, an ambassador from the United States, you've done it against the president. You've done it against the country. You've done it against the authority that is represented by everything that the country represents. So the disrespect and the dishonor then led, notice, to this one. It led to defeat. All of it now, because he was distraught, led to distortion. The distortion led to deception. The deception led to disrespect and dishonor. And that dishonor led to defeat in his life. All because of a wrong reaction. He reacted poorly to a kind gesture. Have you ever known what it feels like when you are trying to be nice to somebody and they react to you in nastiness? Isn't that a hurting thing when you're trying to help somebody and then they snap on you and you came to help them? You can start a war out of a bad reaction. And most negative reactions that come out of people come out of a negative spirit in that person's life. Negativity in a person is identified by a few things. Negativity is fed by selective remembrance. Negativity. Have you ever noticed that about negative people? They remember the mistakes, they remember the bad things, but they don't remember the blessings and they don't remember the sacrifices that you made. Negativity is fed by selective remembrance. Touch your neighbor. Say, I know that person. I know them. You know the kind of people that I'm talking about. You can do 1,000 good things and do one thing wrong, and all that they'll bring up in your face is what you did wrong. All that they'll bring up is the time that you didn't help them, but they didn't thank you for the time that you helped them. You're sick of them. And you've helped them, and you've helped them, and you've helped them, and you've helped them. And now they got an attitude with you, and out of that spirit of negativity, they have selective remembrance. And then they will, some of them will have the unmitigated gall to say to you, you don't do anything for me. You ever heard that before? That's it's a classic sign of a spirit of negativity because it has selective remembrance. They don't remember the good, the positives, the blessings, and the sacrifices that you made, but they always remember the bad stuff, the mistakes. Negativity, it is fed by selective remembrance. And then self-pity is negativity internalized. You find people that's always mealy-mouthing, belly aching, having this little pity party. It is negativity internalized when you get a person and then they're into self-pity. That's negativity internalized. Then complaining is negativity vocalized. If you give a microphone to negativity, it'll come out as complaining. Complaining, it is negativity vocalized. And then envy is negativity externalized. Now see, here's the difference between jealousy and envy. Jealousy wants a husband like yours. Envy wants your husband. Envy, don't turn your back. See, that's negativity. That's negativity. But here's my suggestion. That instead of reacting, train yourself to respond. Instead of reacting, train yourself to respond. When you respond, here's what you do. You stop, you pray, you think, you get counsel, you do research. When you respond, you devise a strategy. And when you respond, you then put it into action. Can you see that a response is always a process of things, whereas a reaction is immediate and has no time to think, to reflect, to pray, to get counsel, to devise a strategy, and to put anything in action? A reaction is a reflex. It has no thinking whatsoever. You hit me, I hit you. Psh, pow. You tell me something I don't like, I cuss you out and I walk off the job. Then you get home, you know, I ain't gonna let nobody push me around. Nobody's gonna push me around. And you get home and somebody who's dependent on your income now, you had no thought about where you were gonna go to work now and how long you might be out of work. See, when you got another person might have been in that same job. Something might have been disrespectful to them as well, but they stopped. They prayed, Lord, give me strength, give me strength. You ever been to that place? We just have to ask the Lord to give you strength, keep you from hurting somebody, killing somebody, cussing somebody out. Lord, give me strength. I know you saved. But you have to pray about this thing. You have to think about it. You got to get some counsel. You go to one of your coworkers and you say, you know what they asked me to do? Now they ain't even paying me what I'm worth already. And they got the unmitigated gall to be asking me, can I stay late today? You get some counsel from somebody, you know, you say, well, girl, you know, go on and make that extra money. Go on and stack that cash. You need to get some counsel. You need to get some counsel. Then devise a strategy. Devise a strategy, then put it into action. Don't just react. Now, who you think you telling me to work? I got things to do. I had to put my child up. Don't react. Respond. Stop. Pray. Think. Get counsel. Do some research. Devise a strategy. Put it into action. So when you get upset about something, just say, you know what? It's all right. I'm working on something. That's all right. I'm working on something. I'm working on something. You make them nervous then. Ladies, your husband makes you upset. It's all right, mama, working on something. First thing he gonna be thinking, what you working on? What?
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. Join us again next time for Power for Living, where revelation is power. Power for living.